After having dozens of viewers agree with me and reaching out to 3 people who act as sort of judges in this situation, I will bring you my conclusions. But first, let me make you understand why this is happening. You see, Masonry means building things and taking special care to make sure that things turn out the way you want. Whether it was Italians who took claim for building Rome, or whether it was Greeks building Greek-styled architecture, or Asians in Eastern architecture, whether it was the pagans and the Jews who supposedly built King Solomon's temple, Masons have always and historically built things. Not just buildings, but walkways, bridges, building things, and making sure that they were not abused and they functioned, and that those things functioned the way that they intended them to. Just like somebody who builds a sandcastle on the beach and doesn't want little kids to kick them over. They sit there watching their sandcastle proud, laying in the sun, relaxing. And not only are they enjoying them, they are also maintaining them and keeping an eye on them. Keep in mind, Masons explain things in terms of Freemasonry. In terms of Masonry, rather. So it is inconceivable and rather disconcerting to think that a rational mind could possibly think I am wrong. Do not shop owners who make renovations care about their shops not being looted in riots and not being vandalized by vandals? Do not gang members care about their graffiti in their neighborhoods not being crossed out? Because they put it there, they maintain it, and they keep an eye on it to the best of their ability, perhaps. And so it is the same with Masonry and society. They are the architects. They are the builders. They build political movements. They create and maintain ideas, philosophies. Psychology used to be a branch of philosophy, and psychiatry sprung from psychology. And Masonry is concerned with philosophies, religion, and science. I have been threatened by these people to take my videos down. They are especially angry that I put things in a way that forces the viewer to realize that I am right, and brings great shame to anyone who would try to contradict me or claim that I am wrong. I have been researching secret societies for over 20 years. This is the type of selflessness that runs in my family. Partially because of nature, partially because of nurture. My mom and my dad both gave decades of their lives to help humanity in a way that they thought in their lives, in a way that they thought was best. They were sharp and had a certain intellectual acuity that allowed them to be doctors. My dad had certain gifts, physical gifts, that allowed him to be precise with his strikes, to be a brain surgeon. Before the advent of technology, for those of you who may be watching this in the future. And so it was that society did not help my dad with his organic solutions and his herbal medicines that cured forms of cancer, malaria, and Alzheimer's. And it is the same, like father, like son. Society did not give my dad his credit, nor did they give him support. They did not give me my credit for being the top martial artist, even though all the facts, year in and out, prove that I am. No martial artist has ever done what I have done. No martial artist has ever upheld such a high standard of honor and honesty. None of them were covertly drugged. Not any great martial artist, not consistently. And none of them have ever maintained a $3,000 challenge that nobody could bait or even come close to beating, much less offered $25 for people just to show up. None of them have ever had the structure of society, especially law enforcement, the military, martial artists, mental health workers, and other people who have been trained in hand-to-hand combat, hiding like the disgraceful, ignoble, honorless little maggots they are. So without further ado, I proudly present my results and my conclusions that prove that I have superior behavior, honor, and philosophies, as well as the other things they more than just suggest are going on. The Eugenicists' ultimate solution. Thank you. So I decided the best way to wrap up this experiment, today's the last day, is to read you some of the results. The results of the behavior experiment. Well, I've gone over my opinion with 3 other people, and they all agree. So there's a consensus with all the observers who participated, and I would like to thank them. The top martial artist's honest opinion, mixed with 3 other people. The analysis of people who aren't shills, who aren't paid. Their honest opinions. 4 people altogether. My speech patterns were obviously messed up by drugs. My extensive vocabulary proves that I have a very thorough understanding of English, and the lack of messed up speech patterns before being covertly drugged and having my heart broken, which increases the stress, which coupled with covert drugging messed up my speech patterns, using is instead of are and little things that I obviously know better than to say. So there was some presentation issues that were understandable, such as right now I can't really see how much light is reflecting from my beard. It looks like it's going to be okay, and that's part of the problem here, is that I can't really see how bad my beard's going to come out. Other than that, my outfit was pretty presentable in every video. Also, I have to drive down the road to upload the videos due to cyber attacks on my computer. I've gone over that in other videos. So the little things that were off about the presentation were very understandable. And so there was nothing in my presentation and nothing in my appearance that would lead one to believe that I was mentally ill. Nor was there any abnormal behavior the whole time other than the speech patterns, which is understandable. It's just like when somebody's drunk, their speech patterns change. When somebody's really high on marijuana, their tone, the way they speak, and their speech patterns obviously change. They're altered. You're in an altered state of mind. Altered speech patterns accompany that altered state of mind. To not see it that way is rather disingenuous. My experiment definitively proves that they are covertly drugging me, and the abundance of evidence with dozens of people testifying that they see it the same way, and not a single serious person ever claiming that something is wrong with me in over 7 years of videos. And 4,000 plus videos. Puts the nail in the coffin, really. So those are the results, and I think that the conclusions we can come to is that, yes, psychiatry is a fraud, and they were especially wrong about me. Certain groups of people are to blame for all this: the military, the government, law enforcement, intelligence agencies, Democrats, Republicans, because they're the main groups that make up all of these groups, especially the government, and possibly libertarians. These are the people who are in charge, whose job it is to keep this from happening, who have failed miserably, and instead they are going out of the way to make sure that these psychological operations continue uninterrupted. So when you see that I am quite capable of displaying a superior and coherent presentation, one must come to the conclusion that I am being covertly drugged. Then I have people who have known me for a long time, 14 years, saying that there's nothing wrong with me. I have the person who, that person has known me for 14 years saying there's nothing wrong with me. I have people who are talking to me on the phone for months and they've noticed my speech pattern changed when I was drugged, and it was a very typical sort of change. We have the video with my mom breathing in the room, and not only did she get sick, her speech patterns changed in that brief moment that she was exposed. So imagine being consistently exposed to this stuff. And then there is the most obvious proof of all, that it is harder to believe that they are fuming somebody through the vents than they are drugging their food. We know that people slip roofies and drugs into women's drinks all the time. That's why there is tamper-evident technology. It just takes one quick Google search, and you see that this is a very frequent occurrence, especially in the United States, where we have the largest incarcerated population of any country in the world. So, in conclusion, they will regret what they are doing as far as socially, but they do not intend to maintain that regret for a long period of time. The system is not sustainable. It lacks sustainability. So the only logical conclusion one must reach is that they intend to collapse the system and only keep around them the people who believe things that make them feel good about themselves. It's just like, what kind of friends do you have around? People who disagree with you and criticize you all the time? Or people who see it your way and bring you up? It's the same thing, when it comes to these eugenicists and where they're going with this. It is rather unfortunate that this is how it is. And it is even more unfortunate that they have written in the past many times that they have considered covertly drugging people as a part of eugenics. And then I've released videos where I show you how there's, over 60 drugs typically in the average city's water supply. And that amount is only going up and up. It's a result of these drugs being excreted from the human body, and people flushing them down the toilet as well. So when you look at the devastation that is being released, onto the earth, and you look at the rich in the Republican Party, you look at what everybody thinks, all the mainstream groups are going to come to the conclusion that it's better them than the us, so to speak. That this planet is not sustainable. The rich, though they do not want to, the rich Republicans, though they do not want to go out of their way to, preserve the planet, they care about having a place to live, obviously. So their long-term goal is to make as much money as they can before they go to the apocalypse, for lack of a better word, as their main plan, their main course of action. And the left they know that what they're doing is not working. So logically, they're going to have no problem saying, you know what, we tried and we couldn't do anything. We're going to have to make a deal with the right. It's the Hegelian principle coming back to haunt us. We're going to have to make a deal with them to kill billions of people in a short period of time in order to secure a future for the human race. You see the white supremacists talking about securing a future for white children. That's a common phrase, okay? A common saying they have. It's not exactly, it's paraphrasing, but the future for white children is part of the saying. So when you look at what everyone believes and how things are going, it is inevitable. It is unavoidable that this is how it will be. It is the ultimate solution. And they will only take with them certain types of people. This is how eugenicists think on record. Eugenics and other evils. The top experts all throughout history have been warning us. All the people who don't work for big pharma and, you know, the governing class, they've been telling us there's these eugenicists. They have an inferior argument. They're liars. They're deceivers. And right there in the title is evil. Because what they're doing is evil. And you must understand that this is how it is. We look at, you know, the Dahmer family history. You look at the Crusades. Historically, what happens is, you know, you look at the Stalin's regime in Russia, right? People resorted to cannibalism. People resorted to killing and eating each other when the going got tough. There is nothing in history, there is nothing in the popular philosophies of contemporary society that would suggest anything other than we are headed toward a massive catastrophe, a man-made disaster that will kill billions of people. And we see that Satanism is on the rise because in order for them to successfully do this without people becoming whistleblowers, they need a philosophy that allows them to do it. I've been telling you people for years, okay? With all due respect, the white man and the white Jews twist is quite sinful and deadly, as I've warned you in 2009, Illuminati Part 1. My first official video, I warned you, I warned you, I warned you. I said their twist is sinful and deadly. These are their philosophies: Satanism, feminism, atheism, racism, eugenics, big, you know, pharmaceutical mental health philosophies, you know, LGBT philosophies, New World Order occult philosophies, big pharma, evil men are in charge. Haven't you noticed? I warned you, I warned you, I warned you. And now you people seem like you rather just let billions of people die in a short period of time. And it's so obvious. It's not only is that what they're going to do, that's what they're already doing to a certain degree. We see this rise, the trajectory of mass murder. A long time ago, there wasn't that many people. The mass murder wasn't that serious. We've seen wars kill more and more people. We've seen more and more people get soft kills, more and more abortions. Now there's 100 million preventable deaths every year. It's on the rise. Everything, philosophy, science, archaeology, every science known to man suggests that we are headed toward a major man-made disaster. Everything. And there is no reason to believe they won't do it. Just look at history. Did Hitler do it? Did Stalin? Did Mao? Did Pol Pot? Did Leopold of Belgium, when he was in Africa, in the Congo, the Second Congolese War? Did they do it? Did the apartheid regime in Africa do it? You know, and it was still going on in, like, you know, the early 90s? And Israel funded them as a bunch of whites and Jewish fascists, if you will, working together. Did Smedley Butler not warn you what was going on? They laughed at him. They ridiculed him. Then they had a special house investigation, and they found out he was right.
We are headed toward a man-made disaster. Okay? And what is going on with me is like a microcosm, you know. It's a microscopic version of what is to come. They are doing it to everyone to a certain degree, and they are zooming in on people. You know, psychological operations are about the order of society. Now, they need a sustainable order. The order is a sustainable order that allows a bunch of twisted, sick, rich people, yuppies, and bourgeoisie filth to continue their racket. That's what it is. Has nothing to do with what's right or okay. They are moral relativists. They are deists that believe that evil is a trait of God, is a characteristic of God, and that they should emulate God by being both good and evil. And they should use their own judgment. They should be their own gods. Ye shall be like gods. Just like in Buddhism, where you reach enlightenment. And they don't believe that there's a God in Buddhism. There's certain commonalities here that one must not overlook. We are headed toward the end. Why can't you see?